All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Secret Path Week event. As we gather today, we are reminded that throughout Canada, we are situated on Indigenous lands, both ceded treaty land and unceded land. This land is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. As a country, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work. So today, I acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Neutral people on whose territory I am broadcasting from today. So my name is Joe Grabowski, and I will be your host for today. I run an organization called Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So we connect classrooms all across North America with scientists, adventurers, explorers, and conservationists for live virtual guest speakers and field trip events. Every month we run 40, 50, even 60 live events for classrooms. So do take a moment and head to exploringbytheseat.com if you've never visited before. So this is our third year collaborating with the Gore Downey and Chanie Wenjack Fund to bring Indigenous leaders, artists, and scientists live into classrooms across Canada. We've got an incredible week coming up with 20 live events, including musical performances, language lessons, storytelling, and so much more. So the Gore Downey and Chanie Wenjack Fund is part of Gore Downey's legacy and embodies his commitment and that of both the Downey and Wenjack families to build cultural understanding and create a path towards reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. So the goal of the Gore Downey and Chanie Wenjack Fund is to continue the conversation that began with Chanie Wenjack's residential school story and to support the reconciliation process through awareness, education, and action. So many classrooms out there are already doing something. You are legacy schools, legacy classrooms. If you haven't heard of this program before, the Legacy Schools program is a free national initiative to engage, empower, and connect students and educators to further reconciliation through awareness, education, and action. So you can head over to the Downey Wenjack website right here and look up the Legacy Schools to learn more about how your classroom can take part. All right, we've got a great event coming up right now. We're going to connect with Ecko Aleck. She's a performing artist working through the disciplines of spoken word, rap, and singing. She's also a multimedia digital artist working through mediums of music, sound, and video production. So in 2017, she received the Fred Sheratt MusiCounts Award for Outstanding Recording Arts and Sciences in Toronto, and she's also founded the Sacred Matriarch Productions. She's the daughter of a residential school survivor and cycle breaker for her two young sons, and she uses her art as a method of healing from intergenerational traumas and believes in using every opportunity to address the dark history that Canada was built upon. So I'm going to bring Ecko in live with us right now. Hey, Ecko, how you doing today?
Good morning, Joe. I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm thrilled that we have you joining us. We've got classrooms across Canada. We have some of them on camera with us. We have many, many more tuning in live via YouTube. So keep introducing yourself in the chat. And we're looking forward to spending a little time with you today, Ecko.
Thank you so much. Yadikchinwanwan, Hekshkwen. Good morning, everyone. My ancestral name is Kaweya. My English name is Ecko. I am from the Nlaka'pamux Nation, Shuk or Grizzly Bear clan, raised with the Shishalh Nation on the Sunshine Coast, and marrying into and calling in from Pentlatch territory on Vancouver Island today. I am the daughter of Shinkiap and Kwalegich, granddaughter of Faith and Nelson Aleck. I am the great-granddaughter of Julia and Henry Aleck on my dad's side. My father, as we shared recently, is a system shaker residential school survivor, and I'm a cycle breaker for my two young sons. I am a system disruptor and fierce warrior for Indigenous rights, truth, and history, while empowering and amplifying the voices of our women and youth. Most importantly, I am a mother of two working to break the intergenerational cycles of trauma by healing through my own connections to land, culture, and creativity. It's an honor to be here with you today. I have a few pieces that I'm going to share with you. We're going to go on a little bit of a journey together. My ask is that you sit with and recognize or acknowledge what is the feeling you are having through these pieces. And I ask you to bring that forward in our discussion afterwards. What are the feelings that you gather from spoken word pieces and from the drum pieces? So I'm going to move into my first one. This one, I I have been away from my homeland since I was 12 years old. It was after a suicide attempt, and my mom removed me from my homelands. It was really important. It saved my life. But there is always this disconnect feeling of, I am missing something. There is this beautiful, beautiful power that exists for Indigenous people when they can connect with their homelands in a safe way. So this piece is written to represent those feelings for me. Stand with me, grandmothers. I need you today. Stand with me, grandfathers. I need your strength. I feed from the deep abrasions ingrained in my DNA. I sleep and dream of a time I can't place, a place I know existed, because the vivid vision twists in my mind. Home. Take me home. Take me to the place where we breathe the same frequency in harmony with land and water. Embrace the energy in existence instead of a profit margin at the expense of a home we were gifted. Take me to the time of giant cedar trees, reciprocal relationships with earth and sea, communication and technology are advanced and in harmony with the natural flow as the world should be. Feed me the nourishments of a traditional diet. Fuel the fire to my soul as I hold ancient teachings beyond the physical being. Teach my tongue to grasp the words I know existed. Feel my feet in the forest bare and free as my heart and mind should be. The ancestral language of the land flows in tune with my hands as they weave ancient secrets left in pockets of culture. Saved for the emergence and resurgence of our people. Guide me, grandmothers and grandfathers, for I am lost without you. Jam. That song came to me in that same feeling of missing my home, missing my family, missing my lands, where I really feel my spirit come back to me. And the song came pouring through me with the message of, you are the breath of your ancestors. Regardless of where you are, they exist within you. And everything you need is within you. It's in your DNA. So I'm going to share a little bit of my own family's legacy. My father is Terry Aleck. He was among the first group of people to take on the government, church, and RCMP of Canada in a 17-year legal battle. He was one of the first people to come forward with his story about the abuse he received in residential school. Because of his commitment to telling the truth and to healing, it has put me in the place that I am in today to be able to further that healing for my own children. We can only do the best we have with what we have. And I really can see the incredible differences within the generations. My children will go further than I have gone, as I have gone further than my father has gone. And each generation will get stronger and stronger and stronger with this same commitment to healing. This next piece I'm going to share with you is called Resistance. And it's a journey. It's a journey of intergenerational healing. Hope and persistence. Guidance provided, though at first we might resist it. Gifted with vision on a mission. Reconciliation or conciliation. Peace between our nations. Connection to the land and ourselves is the final destination. There's a dark history we hold. The children of our grandparents ripped from their homes, whipped on the wrists for speaking their language, caged in stone structures, forced to pray to the priests who raped them, thrown a colonial name, raised with hatred for the system. Mom and dad were provided firewater and the culture faded. Generations of natives lost the language of the land, rebranded and banned to reservations. Put poison in our bodies and watch us lose our minds. Many young ones lost their lives inside the place they said would teach us to read and write. The ones who survived grew into broken adults, unable to cope with everyday life, unable to parent from the gap left inside them. Endangered and angered, little did they know. They were raising a new generation of babies born to be warriors, protectors, and culture connectors. We are the descendants of genocide survivors. Strongest of the strongest, ultimate willpower. We are guided by our bodies, reconnecting in ancient ways. I walk the land to gather medicine. I'm understanding the plants and trees. I sing our songs on the water as the waves carry me. I ask for guidance from my ancestors. Here I feel their energy. My hands reach to create. Through culture and art, I find my way. My body craves to dance. I hear the chanting of my people. My feet feel the earth. My heart beats to the drum as I become one with my spirit. To heal is to nurture, forgive, and let go. To heal is to move forward, find peace with your soul. To heal is to be free, dream, be, believe, and know you are more. To heal is to love and love again until love is all you know. Yeah, hey, yeah, hey. Kuksjam, Olnoch, Heichka. That song came to me on my very first canoe journey. I was put at the bow of the canoe, and it was my very, very first experience of intense paddling on the ocean. And the moment that I sat down in the bow, it was just me in the water. And this song came through. I was taught that the moment that our paddles hit the water and we see the bubbles come to the surface and the swirls, that is a moment of ceremony, a moment when our stories and our songs can come back to us. So this song came through, and I was afraid. It was my very first song that came to me. I was afraid that I would lose it. I was taught that if we lose our songs, or if we forget them, they were not meant to be. We were not meant to carry them yet, or we were not ready for them. I sang this song all the way from my partner's territory here in Qualicum to Comox, where we landed. And I presented it to the Nlaka'pamux Nation upon our landing to ask permission for us to come to shore. And it has stuck with me. The word Natsamat that I share in the Hulkaminam language, which is the language of the territories that I live on now, means we are one, to be of one heart, one mind, one spirit, and we must work as one to move forward in a good way. I have all the faith in the world in the next generations. I believe in you. I love you. I am committed to sharing my gifts so that you may thrive in your own. Thank you so, so much for having me today. It has been an honor. Kuksjam, you may find me on social media through Sacred Matriarch or Ecko Aleck.
Ecko, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing some of your story with us today. And thank you for all the work you're doing to further that healing and, making it so that each generation we can get closer to that goal of reconciliation. So thank you again for sharing your story today. I know it's probably not easy, but it's so important for that healing. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Well, I think it's time that we turn things over to the students and see what's on their minds, grab some questions. So I can't get everybody online, but just a few examples of classrooms joining us via YouTube. We've got St. Anthony's joining us, grade 6, 7, and 8. We've got Quebec. We've got grade 6s joining us in Ontario, Thornhill. We've got 3rd grade class joining us, another class in Bradford, Chalk River, Oakville. So lots of students, lots of classrooms joining us live today, Toronto and other places. But let's start with one of our camera groups, and then we'll take a few questions from the YouTube chat as well. So Miss Dent's got her group with us from Petrolia, Ontario. It's a virtual school, grade 7 class, so she's representing them who are tuning in. So I'll bring Miss Dent in right now. Hey, Miss Dent, how are you this morning?
I'm very good. I'm in a very different place than when I joined. Listening to you has totally changed how I feel right now.
Thank you.
Well, that's important. I think, no better compliment for an artist than the work is able to move you in that way.
So there are lots and lots of questions from my students. One is, can you speak of a time you had difficulty reaching your goals? How did you get through in order to achieve what you want to do and what you continue to do in your future?
Oh, that is a juicy question. Many times. The one that's coming to me, I attended the Art Institute of Vancouver for professional recording arts. And I actually, coming from a place of being an extremely at-risk youth, surviving suicide, moving through addiction, I didn't have a whole lot of faith in myself to complete things. I was a single mom, and I applied for this big, fancy private art school with no idea how I was going to pay for it. I just had to go. So I got the application and I was approved for the school, and just slowly started to bring all the other pieces into place. so that I could get through. Even after sourcing all of the funding, getting a student loan, all of the pieces, and moving to a big city from a small town with my baby, I cried my way through school, still feeling like I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to get through. And every time I went back to my communities, I realized that I was not in that school to further myself as an artist, which is what I originally thought I was going for. I thought I was going to expand my knowledge as an individual artist. But every time I would go back to my home communities, I would realize that I needed to pass those gifts and that knowledge I was learning on to the youth, and that was my goal. So every time I have had doubt in myself, I'm reminded that it is my role, it is my inherent role to pass on knowledge to the next generations. And who am I to do that if I am not living in all of my dreams, in all of my truth? So I have continued to pursue my path as an individual artist, and it is my lifelong goal to bring everything I know back to my communities and back to the next generations.
All right. Well, Ms. Dent, thank you for that great question to get us started. We'll come back your way shortly, so do hold on to those questions. We have a third grader who's joining us. This is a question via YouTube. And Aaliyah's wondering, your music, the vocals, the drums, how did you learn to make that music?
So my dad is a singer. I was a baby falling asleep beside a big powwow drum. It's in everything that I do. We would have drum circles. I grew up in a really interesting space. So my home was both filled with anger and magic, because my parents were committed to healing, but still learning how to heal. There was this unpacking of trauma and anger, and this revival of culture, language, song, stories. So I grew up with both of those, which I feel has really paved the way for me to feel comfortable in my own voice. It wasn't until I returned to my cultural singing that I really felt like I knew who I was. Music saved my life when I was a teenager. But when I picked up the drum again, I remembered who I was.
All right. So another question here I want to grab from YouTube before we grab another camera classroom. Mr. Shattuck's crew is tuning in with us from Chalk River, a grade 7 student. Cheyenne would like to know, what was the age? How old was your father when he was taken to residential school?
He was 8, I think. And he spent quite a few years there. I think it was until he was 12 years old. Yeah, I've actually started to document his story as a part of my work to share that out with the world. All of our elders who have been taken away recall those moments so clearly of being taken away and knowing that there was nothing their parents could do to save them from that.
Ecko, I know, this isn't an easy story to share. So, we appreciate all the more that you are sharing these stories, these memories, these feelings with us. And I think it's so important for the classrooms we have tuning in today who will tune in the future to hear these stories and really bear witness to some of that pain and that healing that still needs to happen. We're going to jump to another classroom now. Miss Rambaran's crew is with us. Some grade 5/6s joining us in Toronto. Let me bring them in there. Hi, Toronto.
Hi. What's your favorite part of being a spoken word poet?
Ooh. My favorite part is that there are no rules to creativity. I originally started out writing poetry when I was maybe like 10 or 11. And I was listening to rap music a lot because I had older siblings and they would kind of like sneak me their music, even though my mom didn't like it. And that had a huge influence on how I realized I could communicate with the world. So I started out with poetry and then I moved to rapping. And I found a lot of challenges with other rappers. So I kind of stepped away from that for a little bit. And then I found spoken word. And spoken word to me is freedom. It is the ability to create and manipulate words in any way that I want. It is the ability I can take all of my rap songs and turn them to spoken word and all of my spoken word songs and turn them to rap. It is my creative freedom in how I can communicate with the world now. And I absolutely love it. There are so many different ways that you can share words. And spoken word really gives me the freedom to do that. Great question. Thank you.
All right. Absolutely great question. We'll come back your way shortly and see if there's another question there. Ducking back onto YouTube, Amin is a grade 8 student and wondering, what age did you start to use spoken word, to start using music to express yourself?
As I shared, I've been writing for a fairly long time. Since I was about 10 or 11. But even before that, I was learning piano. Long before that, I was dancing and singing in my room with a hairbrush. But it wasn't until I was probably in my later teens, my dad actually got me a laptop that I could finally start to explore my own music. And it was awful. I was horrible at first. I was really, really bad. But we have to be okay with not being great when we first start. That's how we learn. We are all beginners at some point. And I really struggled with that because I just wanted to communicate clearly what I was hearing in my mind. And I couldn't do it in the beginning. So I'd say like 16 when I really started I was sharing my raps with my friends and I was starting to explore music production. But I was 24 when I finally made it into school to further my education and learn more about music production and audio engineering so that I could make a career out of it.
All right. I think that's so important to, when you first start something, it's very frustrating. My little guy, he's playing the piano. He's 8 years old and he gets frustrated, beginning new things and pushes through with that practice. And there's no better feeling than when you accomplish something or you figure something out that you've been struggling with.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mr. Glassford's class is joining us in Rockwood, and they've got a question for us. I'm going to bring them into the stream here. Hey, Mr. C, how you doing? And there's the group there. Can you grab the mute for me, Mr. C? Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so my question is that how did you and your loved ones react when the last residential school was closed?
That's a good question. And I'm going to be completely honest with you because I'm not really good with holding back. It's a bittersweet. It's the official residential schools closed, but the name of them has changed. So they just transitioned to what is now known as the child welfare system. We have more Indigenous children and youth in the child welfare system today than children who were taken away to residential school. The narrative has just shifted a little bit, but it's the same story. And it's something I work with Indigenous youth in care. It's something that is really, really heavy as we carry forward on working to bring our children home. Thank you for that question. It's important.
All right. Great question from our group joining us in Rockwood. I believe we have another question here from another YouTube class. So there's a class in Elora that are joining us. I'm broadcasting from Elora today as well. So great to see a classroom that's so close. And they're wondering, how do you manage? They're saying it seems like you do a lot of events and you're sharing a lot. How do you manage to do so many events?
That's a good question, too. I have a huge team of support around me. And knowing that I have to dive into really traumatic experiences, memories, hurts with my bloodline, my family, my communities, and the trauma is ongoing. It's not slowing down, that's for sure. So I have a massive, what I call wellness basket of ways to care for my body, mind, heart, and spirit before and after I move into these events. I don't know how to do things lightly. I wish I could, but the legacy that I have been left with and what I hope to pass on to my children it's intense. It's intense, it's deep work, but it's really, really important work if we want to see a change in the world. So I spend probably about half of my time, my energy, taking care of myself. And that comes in many, many different ways. I have ceremonies that I work with. I spend a lot of time on the land. I'm learning how to step away from technology because that is where all of my events are nowadays. And that's a lot of screen time. So just creating lists and ideas and ways that nurture your spirit as you know that you have to step into this role. Cookstown.
All right. So we have a group who's joining us from Bruce Public School. They're in the call, but their devices didn't connect. So our grade 5-6s, if you want to type me a message in the chat, and I'll make sure that I work in one of those questions. But while we wait, I'm going to bring Miss Dent again because I know that her class had some more questions.
So many. We have 90 kids that are with me right now listening, so there's so many questions. Andrew wants you to talk about the posters behind you and what do they mean?
Awesome. This giant banner, this is for my business, Sacred Matriarch Creative. We facilitate safe spaces for sacred stories and creativity. And I'm so happy you asked. This beautiful thing came to me in a dream. So I have this massive dream to build a mobile studio that represents our sacred ceremony spaces and bring it into different communities that will empower our young people to connect with the land and learn the tools and skills to empower themselves in their own dreams, whatever those may be. And I was asked recently to create a theory of change. And 2 weeks ago, I had no idea what that was. So I sat with it for a little bit. I had a friend who guided me through the process. I'm like, okay, I still don't know what that means. So I went to bed and this whole journey came to me in my sleep. I woke up and I could see it so clearly. And I pulled out a giant piece of paper and I drew the whole thing. So it is a journey of change. It starts with a burnt forest that sees the current realities that Indigenous people have around us, which are colonization, capitalism, racist system, an oppressive system. Our children are still being taken away. The end goal, which is this tree, is a network of generations of empowered Indigenous people. This dream sees the current realities, transition from the leading cause of death for Indigenous people, which is now currently suicide and self-harm, transitioning that to old age. That is my dream. That is the change I'm working towards. And this is a map to get there. Even if it's not my generation that sees it, my children's or my grandchildren's generations will see. Thank you for that question.
All right. Well, I can definitely see why you keep that poster behind you, to have that kind of vision sketched out. And yeah, just amazing, Ecko. I'm so impressed with, you know, the power of your words and the connections that you're making. And I can tell that all the students kind of tuning in just from the questions and hearing some of the educators speak or the comments coming in, that everybody kind of feels the same way. And Miss Ripley is joining in with her 5th graders in Bradford, and they'd really like to know how you want your music to affect your 2 children.
I want my children to know that they can dream, do, and believe anything they want, that they can achieve anything they want. So I have an 8-year-old son, and he is very, very shy with his voice, but he wants to be an artist just like his mom. And I don't ever want to criticize his art. I want him to believe so strongly in what he has to offer the world, and that he will create his own path. He does not have to follow mine. Maybe he will be in a completely different style of music, but I want to just nurture and support. And my oldest son was the original reason I decided to take my music seriously again. When I had him, I was in a job I wasn't happy with. I wasn't doing anything to move towards my dreams or my goals. So he is the reason that I began to believe in myself again and chase my dreams. And I want him to always, always remember that.
All right. That's great. What a great dream, a great hope. And, you know, as you mentioned, being that cycle breaker for your children. So Bruce Public School did send us a question here via the chat, and they'd really like to know, you know, we're empowered listening to you today, and they'd like to know, what can they do as individual students? What do you think they can do to further reconciliation?
Land acknowledgements are a great start, but I always ask that we take our land acknowledgements a step further. What is the name of the nation, and are we pronouncing it? Is there a name, a place name of the land that you are on? Because usually there is, and it's not always the same as the nation. And what is your commitment to reconciliation or conciliation? These are things we can figure out through the Truth and Reconciliation 94 Calls to Action. These are things we can figure out when we connect with our local nations. It's really important to remember that not all Indigenous people are the same in any way, and to do your best to connect with localized Indigenous knowledge, because the Indigenous peoples around your area are the ones who speak the language of the land that you live on. When we honor the people, we honor the land. When we honor the land, we honor the people, because they are one. They are all connected. So my ask is that you remember that and carry that forward. What is your commitment to the people and the land that you live on? Tuxjam, great question.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that answer, because like you said, land acknowledgement is a great kind of first step, but what is that commitment afterwards? What will we do after that acknowledgement? Okay, so Mr. C or Ms. Ron Barnes' class, if you want to give me a wave, if you'd like me to visit one more time, We do have a couple more questions here via YouTube, but we are almost out of our time today. So maybe I will squeeze in one here from a 4th grade class, and they want to know a little bit about what you're wearing today. Is it, traditional clothing, or maybe about some of the clothing that you do wear when you are taking part in a celebration?
Yeah, awesome. So earrings, these and this abalone necklace were made from a friend of mine in Arizona, and they represent the water spirit. Now, I'm very, very drawn to water. I was born where 2 rivers meet in Lytton, BC, which recently has been completely consumed by fire. So there is a river that was right next to my house when I was a child. It's called the Stein River, and it is a glacier river. It is incredible medicine for my spirit when I go back to my homelands. So I'm really, really drawn to water, and my motto for life is to be like water. That when I am faced with challenges, I simply just create a new path. It's how I choose to respond to the things around me. It's where I find my strength. I remember to wash my face, drink water. If I need to cry, I have a cry. Like, water is medicine. Water has spirit. Water is spirit. So this piece, it just spoke to me, and I really try to reward myself when I finish big projects. I used to be really bad at that. I would just move on to the next thing. And so this was my way of rewarding myself after a big project this spring. And this piece was actually gifted to me from my grandma. I don't know where it came from. There's no tag. I don't know. But it has been passed on and passed on and passed on. So I love it. I care for it. And it kind of wraps me up when I have to have these conversations that can sometimes be emotional, but they are really, really important conversations. So it's almost like a physical way of remembering that I am wrapped in a blanket of my ancestors everywhere I go. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to bring in Miss Rumbarin's group one more time because I see someone waiting nice and patiently.
Hi, I'm Kira. Your name is really pretty, and I was just wondering, how did you get your name, and does your name have any meaning?
Thank you. My name altogether, Ecko Atlantis Aleck, means reflecting ancient ways. My sister's name is Rainy. And yeah, I get it now. Sometimes we don't really understand things when we're younger, or we're gifted names. So my native name is Kaweya, and that represents our blue jay bird in my territory. Blue jays represent laughter. And I didn't really understand that when I was younger either, but laughter is our best medicine. And I really value bringing laughter into conversations. It's something that I do naturally, even when I'm nervous or when I'm unsure of myself or the situation. Laughter seems to be like my immediate response to things. And the moment we laugh, we are bringing ourselves back to the present moment. So it really is medicine that I'm still learning to unpack. Thank you for that question.
All right. I love that. Laughter is so important. And I think when you laugh with someone, you can really kind of bring people closer together too, sometimes, especially in intense situations. So that's great. And a great question from Miss Rumbarin's crew. Ecko, it's been such a pleasure to have you joining us today, to have you sharing some of your art with us, to have you sharing some of your family history and your hopes for the future for these next generations with us. It's so important that classrooms are thinking about that history of residential schools, reflecting upon it, and then working towards meaningful acts of reconciliation in their classrooms, and then bringing that into their homes as well, Ecko. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been such an honor to walk with you.
All right. Well, I do want to remind those who are tuning in that if your school or your classroom is not already a legacy school or classroom, to head over and visit the Downey Wenjack site and to learn some more information. For several years now, classrooms have been taking part in acts of reconciliation and sharing those across Canada. So we'd love to see more classrooms joining in and taking part and sharing their actions in their classrooms. I want to say a huge shout out to our YouTube crew who joined us today for sharing with us those great questions and sharing an Ecko story today. And then, of course, a shout out to our camera classrooms who joined us. Thank you so much. It was great to see you. I'll pop a few in if they want to say goodbye and thank you. And Ecko, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.